cameras I have in the room for recording.
Are we sharing?
Can everyone on the phone?
If we can see it.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yep, I can see it.
Coming from Erica's computer.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Okay. Well, that didn't work. Oh, no. Well, oops.
Nope.
Okay, it's delayed. Delayed response. I get it. So just to introduce myself, my name is Erica. I'm a UX UI consultant, and I do some front-end engineering when I feel like it. I'm certified in Umbraco. I don't know what level because they changed it all, but it used to be level 2. So, which kind of just means I'm just dangerous enough to do some harm, but it also means on the flip side I can also be super helpful if there needs to be any work sharing as well. I come from a small agency background, and I've been a business of one for the last 2 years. So all that to say, I wear a lot of hats. And I like to be hands-on from scoping through the build and the QA phases. And one of the best things about knowing Umbraco and the front end is I can get in there and fix stuff myself. I don't have to harp on anybody for all those little nuances that we as designers see, but developers gloss over because they are focused on others.
Blind to it.
I was trying to find a way to say that diplomatically. Okay, hopefully I do that. I don't know. I've gone after my Umbraco certification, and I'm planning on keeping it as long as I stay in the Umbraco world, because I think that it helps me do my job better when I understand the underlying architecture to it and how things get put together. When I'm designing something, I can envision what the back office experience is going to be. I can envision how it might be coded, and my development knowledge is not super great that I have a complete grasp on it, but I have enough of an understanding that I can be a better liaison between the developer and the client and reassuring them how things are going to work and how things are going to be put together. And it also helps during scoping phases is to help keep things on budget, because we might ideate big, but it's way out of budget. And so me knowing kind of how that's going to get put together has made me better at my job, because I do wear a lot of hats. So to answer one of the big questions out there, feedback I got from the internet and from Brittany, who asked you guys, is what are the constraints on Umbraco? And there aren't really any. I think the constraints come back to the budget, and that's the big one. Is are we dreaming too big for what the client actually really needs? I also asked on Twitter what the devs thought, if they thought it would be more helpful to work with designers who understood Umbraco, and to my surprise, actually a lot of them said no, it doesn't really matter. But there's a caveat on that. I need to remember to change slides like 45 seconds.
They thought you were just asking if you want to look creative.
These are some of the responses I got back. Not so much Umbraco per se, but they want designers to understand how CMSs work and how pages and components can be put together, especially repeatable blocks of content. And that comes in not only with grid stuff, but just in general, and helping to create a uniform look on the front end, as well as just something that's more easily maintainable from a code base.
I was reading James Scott this week. Like, is that off the top of the head, or did he spend like 2 hours writing this week?
Because it's
Just like
not terrible.
Do you want us to like ask questions later, or sometimes if it goes?
You know what? It doesn't really matter.
I'm just curious. What's the main complaint from a designer about Umbraco?
I don't know any, actually.
Okay.
And I don't know a lot of designers. I know way more devs than I know designers. I'm not really plugged into the design world.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Your most, or do you have a complaint
about Umbraco? Not really. No. Okay. My complaints come more in when I pick up front-end jobs.
which is separate too. It's not really
Which is not really Umbraco related. It's just designers being lazy. And I used to be in that sphere too until I got my ass. No, I didn't really, but little tips and tricks we pick up along the way. But yeah, so that ties in. The most complaints I got back on Twitter when I posed the question if they wanted their designers they worked with to know Umbraco is most of the complaints were actually front-end related. They weren't related to back-end, and that's a lot of times where their budget got blown is more in front-end stuff.
Hello, welcome.
That was really interesting. Hi.
There's over there.
There's one. Yep. Grab a beverage too. Help yourself to some food.
Yeah.
We're just getting going, sort of. Okay. So yeah, devs were more interested that designers understood templating, components, repeatable elements, etc., etc. Another interesting tangent that came out of this that I thought was food for thought is one of the devs actually chimed in and said, hey, you know, maybe it's not really your fault that designs are inconsistent and not very repeatable, but it's the tools that you're working with, and I think that's very true as well. I primarily use Photoshop and Illustrator, and I'm looking to jump into Adobe XD because they have the ability to more easily do those repeatable things, so you can catch yourself better for that. But because I haven't made that jump yet, because I haven't had time to invest in learning another software, I'm kind of go through my methodology and how we can create more streamlined designs. As well as also to try to get ourselves into more of that repeatable pattern mindset, which comes in handy for the grid stuff. Change your slides early. So let's talk about Style Guides.
30 seconds.
They've been around for a long time, and I'm always amazed how many people don't do them, and designers that don't capitalize on them, which I think is absolutely crazy because I think they're fantastic. It's great, like I said, for catching your own inconsistencies and making sure that what you're handing off to the dev team is what actually needs to be coded so they don't have to come back time and time again. Was this intentional? Was this non-intentional? Did you mean to have 50 Shades of Grey? Did you mean to have 10 different H1 styles? No joke, that has happened. It always takes me a few days of exploration to get a really solid idea going, but I use a software on some projects, not all, called Frontify. Oh, there it is. I don't know if you guys have heard of it before, but it's kind of a brand management software.
I use Zeppelin and Envision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use Envision as well. But this is a way for me to, and it scrolled too fast, probably more pertinent part, but this is a way that I can log the different colors and header styles that I use on projects, so I have a reference as I'm building. So if I go to another template, another new page layout or something, I can refer back and be like, okay, I'm using these 2 shades of gray, and I'm using this for my header font style or whatever. And then I also, I do it as I'm working, so it gives me something to hand off to the dev. So if I do have inconsistencies in my comps that I hand off, I say, hey, this trumps, unless I've explicitly said, no, this was intentional. So they don't have to have that back and forth on that question, because that's where you lose time and that's where you lose money on all your projects, right? Let's see. And while I think that switching to Sketch or Adobe XD or something like that is going to help with consistencies in the design, I still think it's good practice to create some sort of style guide to have that logged as well. This one is actually a Photoshop file that I started today. It's a new project that I'm working on where we're actually going to take an atomic design approach or a modular design approach. So I want to talk about that next. But I started in Photoshop because we have a very, very short timeline to get our beta launch out, and I don't have the time to dedicate to building the atomic library right now. But that's in hopes of documenting your projects for handoff, I've started using Envision as well to leave comments on elements to let the dev teams know. So I sent them a style guide as well, but I'm again on this latest project. I've started just adding comments in Envision, be like, hey, this is an H1, here's the font style, the line height, the color, whatever, use this for all H1s. And so they have that all right there on the page. And I haven't decided where I'm going to leave mobile comments yet, if that's going to go on a separate mobile screen or put that all online. So when they set out their base variables in their SAS files, they have it all in one place to log in. So pretty much, I think it's really important. I generally hand off 5 things, and I think I talked about this at the end, but I'm just going to slip it in here. I generally hand off 5 things when I hand off a project. I hand off a style guide, I hand off any fonts, or at least links to Google Fonts. If I've used any icons, I ask them what they want those icon formats to be, if they're SVG code, SVG files, or a custom font, and I will prepare it any and always for them. I hand off any other SVG files that maybe don't fall into like an icon style if they're more complex, and I hand off. The comps themselves, I don't know. I have a list at the end. The PhDs, or PSDs. Anyway, I create a big Dropbox folder that I share with them, and plus they have access to the Envision comp, so they can see any interactions that I've been able to achieve within Envision. But I also use comments to note, hey, I need this to fly out such like this, and so we're documenting everything on all these interactions to hopefully streamline their process. I know that historically, projects I've worked on, and actually even now, when you don't get handed those things, you waste so much. I'm not a mind reader, and the devs that you're handing off to, they're not mind readers either, right? So like, they don't know what you intended. They don't know that, oops, yeah, there's inconsistencies in here. It's okay to streamline that. And some designers are really picky about that, and then when you don't follow them to the T, because you're like, why would I create 10 H1 styles? They get really mad at you, and you're like, so like maybe just go do that, but anyway. So atomic design. This is kind of like the unicorn workflow, I think, and it's been around for a while. I don't know if you guys know about atomic design.
Yeah.
Created by Brad Frost. Do you use it?
We do on certain projects. Yeah.
Okay. So I think this mentality of atomic design fits in really great in working with CMSs, because it's all about repeatable patterns, which is what you really want when you're translating something into a CMS, right? So a lot of times it's used more on the larger corps and the larger projects because they can be time-consuming to build. But I think this is where the design world is going. When there's so many different ways to code things now. Like yesterday I watched a presentation on CSS Grid, which I've not used yet. I don't know anything about, and it is amazing. But how do you design for something like that when you can be so fluid? You can't design in static columns or whatever. But if you're building your atoms and your molecules and organisms and you're turning those into your template pages, like it just opens up kind of a whole new world and a whole new way of thinking about things. And it brings about those consistencies that users crave and that the devs crave too. So they can plug in different things at different places, and you keep that streamlined. Okay, so oops, I'm just gonna skip that. I have this. If it'll play, just this short little illustration that I'm gonna walk through really fast. That's cool enough. I could have talked to it. Okay. Oh, it's still going. Okay. Okay, maybe we'll just give it. Anyway, it was a really cool video. So really quickly, atoms is the basis of all of it. So it's things like your colors, or your font styles, or things like that. And you combine all these atoms together, and you make molecules. And molecules would be like putting together a label with an input box, or putting together a header, a table header with your corresponding row, or something like that, right? So at this point, you could really start your pattern library, which is the other thing that I think is really cool, and I think that should be done on more projects than it is done on. So pattern libraries solve common design problems, right? Okay. This is from the BBC, and it's pretty kick-ass, and I'm going to circle around back to it in a minute. But they essentially, really quickly, they have several different brands underneath them, and they all follow these pattern libraries, and all their sites and brands look different, but they all have that same feel to them because they follow this pattern library. So back to organisms. Organisms is where it all starts coming together. So we're combining those molecules and we're building more complex, repeatable things, right? So then an organism might be a header, where you have the logo, the navigation, the search bar, etc. Or you might have a news listing with a headline. What?
The flashback.
I know.
Oh yeah, I worked on Canvas.
Did you?
Yeah.
I know, this is a pretty old site, but I know, I had too many NDAs, so I was trying to come up with something that I could talk about. Or something like cards. Cards are really big in design, so how can we use cards as repeatable data to share? So this is where the whole atomic design kind of loses me, because then you're designing all these elements, but then you backstep to wireframes, and that seems a little bit backwards to me, because I usually start out with wireframes, and so I don't quite understand that. But follow their example, you go onto wireframe. Again, this is something that I would start early, because this is also, once you get your wireframes and your functionality and your elements defined, you can hand that off to dev, and they can do the underlying work on the project while you go ahead with the design and you put on the finesse in that. But what I like about atomic design and developing their reusable patterns is that means you don't have to design every single page to get a consistent feel across the site, right? Once you have all these set, your dev team can take it and roll with it, and you're cutting down on your budget time, right? So there, last step, if you want to do high fidelity, are the pages that are the high fidelity versions of the template. The other cool thing about it, especially when it comes to the grid stuff, and when you design like these maybe cards or something, and you build out custom grid components to do stuff like that, you're giving the content editors control over how their page looks, right? But you're still giving them control, but in kind of a limited fashion. It's okay to put a newspeak card grid here, but it's not okay to put it here because you're limiting that through the grid controls. So once we get our minds kind of wrapped around these repeatable pattern type things, things start coming together more quickly. So here's an example of one that does not have pattern library, and you can immediately tell because of they all look completely different. So this is a family of sites, and there's just kind of no rhyme or reason between the divisions as they set it up. The counter to that, we're coming back to the BBC, right? Yes. Okay. So this is 3 different of their family sites. And you can see they don't look the same at all, but you can see the continuity between them because they've done such a magical job with their pattern library, and they've empowered each division's content editors and devs or whatever to set up these sites. So that is the bulk of what I wanted to talk about today. I know there are some questions also around, if I had more time, actually I would have pulled in examples of Umbraco templating and partials, because you can, but I ran out of time, sorry. I had a little work to do. So, but you can hopefully imagine like, you know, obviously your header is going to be, hopefully your header is going to be the same across the entirety of the site, right? So if you think of, or not, you should aim for that. But if you can think of other elements on pages as being like the header that has to stay, you know, at least architecturally the same, like it's going to have a headline, it's going to have maybe a little description text, and it's going to have a call to action button that you're going to put above your footer in every section or in every page. Like, think of that as something that gets put in its own tiny little include file, its own pattern that can be pulled in on any page, and be repeatable. It's when you change a tiny bit of that and something else that's causing different markup, that's when you're upsetting the devs because it's not standardized. And I don't mean to say that like everything on a site has to be the same. Like some people might freak out, like you're stripping all my creativity away, like I can't do anything. But I look at the BBC's family of sites and they have this very solid pattern library set, and look at all the things that they've been able to do with that, within those boundaries. And I think what it does is for us as designers is it pushes us to be even more creative. Like, I have this set of data, what can I do with it design-wise? It's not gonna like cause the dev team a huge amount of overages and hours to like change this.
Can we look at the one that wasn't very nice?
Do you guys do any Microsoft Web Framework stuff that you review?
Do we do what?
Microsoft's new internal, it's called Microsoft Web Framework. It's like it's atomic. I didn't even know it was atomic design. I didn't know what atomic design was, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
I've had one project on it.
They've built their own kind of pattern library, their own style guide essentially.
So all the WAC sites now will start to all look the same. So usually the marketing department will get on budget and build out their site, and they adhere to the style guidelines. And that was it, but now they actually have CSS, HTML, and JS, everything all built out, componentized, like atomic design. They don't call it that, though, I don't think. That's what I was just looking up. But yeah, they're heading in that direction for all of their work. So.
I think it's pretty cool, and like, and it helps. I'm kind of a hater on CSS frameworks like Bootstrap and Foundation. I think there is a call to use them sometimes, especially for lower budget sites to help get you out the door. But I think that they've handicapped us because you're so pigeonholed into certain types of layouts that they present. And when we build our own atomic design guidelines or whatever in our own pattern libraries, we're still, maybe it's a little bit of extra effort up front, but as the sites grow, you have those building blocks in place already, and you can add to it. I mean, BBC actually has several different card designs, and actually Lonely Planet has a really good one too, and they've got like, I don't know, 10 different card designs for different occasions, and they have the code all set nicely next to it, so you just grab it and slap it in, and I was like, that is genius. That is like what I want to achieve on every project, and I know every project doesn't have the budget for that, but I think once we get into this mentality and how can we be creative within that structure, I think that we'll be better working together as teams, and clients and users will be happier too. Users like what they're familiar with, which is scary because what they've been socialized to is not always the best thing out there. Don't get me started about the hamburger menu. Not a fan. But
hamburger menu. Like what do you do in replacement of that?
There's lots of things though, but I think we're not ideating for them because it's just easier to throw up a hamburger menu, and we've had Facebook to socialize as to what that means, and that doesn't mean it's right, but we're using it because there's been so much training that's gone into getting users to use it, but so we've lost the ability to kind of think outside the box. Now that being said, users love the familiarity, so you don't want to like totally shake things up right away. You have to do these gradual iterations to retrain them. Facebook does not use a hamburger menu anymore. They brought it out, and now they're like, oh, it doesn't work. They got rid of it. But we all glommed onto it like it was the next best thing, and we all still use it, right? So, I don't know. It is awkward.
I will say as a developer, I like this kind of design system.
Yes.
It makes it so much easier when it's like, because inevitably, if I have to interpret a designer's intent, I'll just decide the wrong thing, and I'll find out later. I'm like, why'd you do it like this? Well, that's what you wanted. So anything that reduces that confusion makes it so that the people that maybe don't have the best sense of, I don't know, font choices or what the right pixel size is, don't have to think about it. You just punch in the right code and you get the right result for what they want. And at Off-Road Code, we have a lot of clients with very large editorial teams that can't be trusted to make design decisions to save their lives, but have big access to back office. And so the more we can lock them down with tools that let them drop in components without being able to make the site ugly on accident, the easier it is for them, and then the happier they are with us. Because inevitably, if something goes wrong, they'll go to the third party first. We're the third party. So, right? So I totally like this.
So would you say that's your favorite workflow? Like, do you have a favorite one where, like, okay, designer gives me this is awesome?
You know, as a developer, I like to spend most of my time dealing with challenges on functionality that I'm there to solve, as opposed to trying to solve a designer's problem for them. So I don't care how the designer gets to communicating with me their design, as long as they're able to solve that challenge, and then they're able to present me with something I can consistently use. And I found that these modular style pattern libraries or style guides, in particular, anytime that's used, I spend way less time coming back to them with questions and way less time trying to interpret a design document, and more time fixing the problem that ultimately I'm going to be the one that they want fixing it. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't been able to do anything with truly autonomous designs yet because, you know, I'm in a small team and, you know, we don't usually have the turnaround time for a full thing like that. But style guides have been incredibly valuable, especially online ones, as opposed to like Photoshop docs. Because Photoshop docs, inevitably, the color's wrong, the font size isn't full.
Well, and then you're relying on your dev to have access to Photoshop as well, which is why I'm trying to hit something third party like Frontify. I'm still not completely happy with them yet, but it is a viable option.
What is Frontify?
It's a brand management software, and it's easy to jump into for the basic stuff like fonts and colors, or sometimes I upload like the SVGs and the logos, so all your files are kind of right there for the dev to just grab. Supposedly you're able to build out your atomic libraries in that, but the learning curve is a lot higher, and I've not found it well documented, so I'm still struggling with that. I haven't checked out that one yet, no.
And Inspect and Envision.
Envision, yeah.
With Inspect.
No, I haven't, no.
Because that's when you get padding and spacing, and it gives you the CSS and the color library and the grid.
Yeah.
And it has all the assets.
Like with you or our glg.com site, and it's really helpful for a developer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get the design team and the development team as close as possible in that.
And I also think something that I actually didn't mention that I should have said up the front, like communication is key. Like we cannot work in silos anymore. I never go on a call with a client without a dev person with me. And if I can get a project manager, if I'm not the project manager on the project, if I can get them on the call as well, if I can get marketing on the call, the more the merrier, because we all come at these problems different ways. And we come up with better solutions when we're able to talk out ideas, and we're better able to stay on budget for that.
I have to agree. It's been a while since I've been on a work alongside designer, but a year or so ago, back when I was in the UK, many of the best projects were when I was able to work alongside designers who were able to sit down and we were able to discuss, and then the 5-minute conversation would save maybe hours.
Right.
Because you're just able to say, well, this is all we can do, and they'll be able to say, well, I can do this. Oh, that's a great idea.
Right.
So,
exactly.
you know, I mean, it's business value of having developers and designers sitting down together is, you know, it's just, you know, it's quantifiable, but, you know, I mean, the alternative is just,
right.
Yeah.
You know, like Matt Barroso had a tweet on your list there that was similar to that, which was about budget. And the sooner the two communicate, it'll be like, there's something that might be easy to design, but hard to implement.
Right.
And it might be something that's easy to implement, but the design's a nightmare to try to, you know, make work for people.
Right.
So,
And when you can ideate those solutions together, you usually come out somewhere in the middle
Yeah.
and come out with a better solution.
We as a team have started using Sketch,
Mm-hmm.
which unfortunately is Mac only, or awesomely is Mac only, but unfortunately.
Yeah.
Go with unfortunate.
But what's interesting though is it has shareable libraries and symbols, so it's designed for modular design.
Yeah.
Or for atomic design.
And
so
that's, again, where
and it's
I
setting
think,
up base stuff.
yeah, I think that the tools that are available to designers now are finally starting to catch up to where they should be.
Yeah.
Atomic design came out quite a few years ago, and it's not really catching on until Sketch came out, and now Adobe XD,
tools to use it,
and
So
there's tools to use
I
it.
think
easier
material
tools.
design also has been a really big component of atomic design.
They have the most, notoriety, I guess, in it. Yeah.
You know, Cinema's big guy.
Right. It's one of the big guys does it.
So everyone else has to catch up.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So my last thing is just some pattern library examples. These are ones that I think are pretty cool, that I look at quite often.
I like everything Melton.
Have you
I love MailChimp. They are
checked
like,
out the Audi interaction guidelines?
I
think it's really good.
Your face is lit up.
I tried to put it in Sketch and Envision, and somehow it wouldn't let me like export it out.
The
in
Audi
Envision.
one?
Yeah.
Audi
So
the supermarket chain or Audi the?
Audi, the car manufacturer. So it's their experience design library, and they have patterns and a pattern library, and then they let you download the PSDs and the sketch files. It's for a brand, it's pretty
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
organized.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, it's a really great example, and it's taking what material design did and also adding in animation as well, and animation guidelines, which I think is really great.
And that's what,
Pardon? They're not, no, I mean, pretty much all of this, you could do this with any content management system or anything. This is just really great design workflow and digital design workflow. This really has nothing to do with Umbraco yet.
Not really. But I think what a lot of people are struggling with that I hear from developers is people not understanding how the grid works. And so I think if more people could get into that reusable pattern mindset, that the grid's going to come more naturally to them.
We use the grid for Script, right?
We do. Yep.
Yeah, so Script is an Umbraco community magazine that Erica, Janae, and Janae's not here, work on. And I'm totally a developer, can't design my way out of a library, but I don't have to. When I'm doing content entry for our authors, we have it's a very simple grid design. So it's an article format, but Umbraco is very configurable to make this. Literally, you drop in your element, very elemental design, and then you put in your content, do the next one, and you can make it. I use it, so you can make it idiot-proof to keep your editors from making a nightmare out of your design. I'm special, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's always a special person out there.
You just sneak in there and fix it, and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's interesting because when we first started building on Umbraco, they were templates. And you guys can kind of, Lindsay, you can kind of chime in too, but okay, we'll scope it, you get 14 templates and that's it. And then there's always something that doesn't fit your template, you need something else. And as designers, we're like, well, but can we take this from here and that from here and put it on your page as a new template? So now every project, I think, has to have the flexible grid in it.
Yeah.
And designing for maybe we look at all the patterns that we may need and make more patterns so they're in there for the client, so they can make great design.
Yeah.
And consistent.
Yeah, I think CSS technology's been catching up with us. CSS grid layout now.
Oh my God.
I mean, you combine
that video, I don't know if you guys subscribe to UIE, or if you do anything. I found that it was about CSS Grid and their all you can learn library. If you have a subscription to that, and I was just like,
yeah, you combine that with some stuff that you
Just
can
be
do
happy. When I was a developer, all I had was tables.
Yeah.
Which is,
Been there.
that was
There
like
wasn't even CSS.
I had
1991.
Yeah.
That was that's what was great about her presentation. She
But I did forget.
did the whole history of how the layouts have evolved and like.
What did we? Can you do like send me some follow-up material of the things you talked about? Okay.
Sure.
I think Spot has a login for the UI library. It's awesome.
It's so great.
It's really awesome.
It's so worth the money.
The one with the components, like he designed with all the components and showed it to clients and.
I don't know.
Got sent it out.
It might be.
Okay.
It might be. Yeah. We'll have to look at it.
So I'm hoping like design's gonna move more into like we're creating these molecules or whatever that we can and these repeatable patterns. But the thing that I still get tripped up on is the client always wants to know, well, what's it gonna look like when it's done.
Well, so that's the thing, like, the clients don't understand how to
Right.
look at components like that.
Right.
How do you deal with that? Or do you even show
Just
them?
wait.
I usually do, if it's more of a limited budget where I'm like, you can't afford to pay me to do out every single page, I will do like maybe 3 of the top key pages. But then I'm the one that needs to do all the content because I know how I've built these sections. So I have to build out all their content in the back office for them so it gets laid out so they have an example
So basically it is development.
Yeah.
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 One of the biggest cons we faced in previous places I've worked is where they'd like something they've seen in one template, but it wasn't grid-based. And then if they could take that, so just add a few boxes at the bottom, and then all of a sudden we're having to, because, it's an older version of Umbraco, which isn't grid-friendly,
Right.
having to build an entire different template, and then it's like it's fractured.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily the fault of a designer. It's simply the fact that maybe the project manager hasn't involved the designer on board, or the technology isn't there, because some of these sites are upward, maybe say, I don't know, 3 to 5 years old, and it's not really designed properly. It's, technology and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Technology moves so fast, and I think that,
I was working on the 7.1 site, so I was like, 7.1 being much more stable than this.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway,
So,
I remember being excited when it came out, and now it's just like, I don't want to work on that.
very excited when version 4 came out.
Yeah.
one of our clients works in Adobe Experience Manager. So we build a lot of pages as designers from that content management system. And it's really interesting as a designer to just build from a CMS. That's
Yeah.
how you design entire pages. And so you have a content library system, which I think is really interesting. And interesting to then take that knowledge and apply it to the smaller
I completely agree.
content management system.
One of the most interesting things doing Umbraco for like 10 years now, and one of those things is you've got to get the clients to work on the site as soon as they possibly can, because the way they use it will often surprise you. And until you use it, is when you find out a developer or a designer what does and doesn't work. So,
Yeah.
Expeditors did that, like, they're using it.
Yeah, Expeditors is great at it. And I think that the more designers get into the back office and start adding content in and actually managing content,
They'll get it.
it teaches
Yeah.
you, like, I know Karen and I both spend a lot of time in the back office. Just like, oh, is that image going to work? Is this work for a grid layout? And I think it makes you a better designer from the front end.
And you catch
if you
your
understand the
mistakes,
back office.
too.
Yeah.
And
Do you think, I don't know what the Umbraco training is now, because it's all sort of shifted, like different courses, but do you know of which Umbraco certifications would be good for designers?
And just the level 1 or whatever they're calling it
Are they
now, the
still
online
doing
one.
just
Yeah, they moved it online, the fundamentals training.
So you can get it online.
Yeah.
Basically how to use the CMS
And what doc types are, and how you build doc types, and how that translates to.
I can't remember what level that.
Which is really valuable. Like, one of those questions that people always ask is for designers.
There's one coming up, I should know this, because I just sent out the newsletter. There's one coming up in the state. I mean, it is an online training, but it's facilitated, so they're scheduled times or whatever.
And I think at GLG, we might be getting people, I think Lindsay is on the call. We might be doing some certifications and stuff, right, Lindsay?
Yeah. So you'd say you're kind of not limited. It's front end and time and budget.
Yes, I think that's what your constraints are, honestly. Like, yeah, there are some things that you might do, and developers are going to roll their eyes because they're not going to want to code that for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I've always found, like, if you have a good, solid reason for it, if you have your personas, or if you have your,
November 6th.
Oh, November 6th. Thank you. Is the next online U.S. training?
Yeah.
Like, if you can back up your argument of why you did it this way and why it needs to happen, if it fits in the budget, like, I've always won those arguments.
I'd say these days, with so many tools that we have, like the grid and things extend the grid, like maybe say 7 years ago, like, people wanted 2 columns of text,
Right.
like, that's when you know a property, but these days, it's just so much easier for people to just mock it up,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's really, we're living in a great age.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. I really haven't run across anything that's a big no, Umbraco can't handle this, because that's a full platform.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've seen Umbraco used for a database to power a video game. I've seen it used for, hotel reservations, booking flight sites. You see it used for, as
Alexa?
for
Alexa skills?
Yeah, there was been some people that were having some fun attaching to the Microsoft AI API for some sort of interface for network learning system.
Yeah.
I mean, it's flexible. I think it's weirdly flexible. Any good CMS should be, but it's a low friction flexibility. I think as long as you can do it online, you can probably do it.
Have you guys done much with personalization, localization?
Localization, yes. Personalization outside of that, not as much.
Yeah.
But I remote for a British team that sometimes does multilingual European sites.
Yeah.
So localization is pretty heavy. Umbraco's pretty flexible for that.
Yeah.
It's got a good language library, so.
I mean, we've built a site in 10 languages, so, and we're
I know how that
managing
goes.
that.
It's fun.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about, like, geo-targeting locations, so building dynamic content and using the personalization engine. So, like, if I'm coming from the zip code and on my second visit and I've looked at this product, am I going to be able to serve up different components or different
Well,
models?
in theory, you could. I guess it depends how you're doing that awareness. I mean, that's obviously bolting onto Umbraco's core.
Yeah.
Well, they used to be thin doctor, wasn't
I
they?
think so. I don't know
There's a
now.
couple of them more.
Yeah.
Spin Doctor's really old.
It is.
But there's a couple that have come out in the last 2 years that are pretty, they're probably sitting somewhere between alpha and beta.
Yeah.
And pretty,
That's like the next frontier for me. It's like, how do we create totally individual sites? Yeah. With Umbraco. Because, again, working with AAM, they, it's a huge, giant enterprise platform, and they can do tons of targeting and personalization. How do we take that same stuff to our other clients with the Umbraco?
Yeah, I'd say one company to watch in the UK is it called Grow Create? That's the guy who consistently does, he consistently does personalization talks each year at UK Fest.
He is basically the personalization guy in Umbraco.
And, I think if he's got anything, then that's probably people talk
Grow Create. At Code Garden, there was a meetup thing on the last page.
Neil and Andy Butland.
Yeah, they
and they're both super smart guys that,
What? Yeah, and then the guy that's running it now is,
I can't remember his name, I always remember the other one.
bold and short.
And that's what it's
I've got a lot of balls and shorties.
That's what it's exciting, is how to create dynamic experiences.
Hogwarts.
He's wanting to speak to you about where personalization is. Because he was one around the meetup thing on the Friday. He knows where all the packages are and where it's at, and he was trying to bring, because there's a couple of them are out there. I did one, and then Theo, whatever his last name is.
Theo, large Greek last name.
Large Greek last name.
Like monopolist or something.
He's is more on the CRM side, which he covers,
It is,
So they actually have a product on the CRM side that they built out, but some of those three guys that show across will be kind of, it's not there yet. I've fiddled around with it, but they had a client that wanted to do it, and they ended up going with Psycore, because Psycore handled that stuff with him.
I know.
Then you have to work with Psycore.
I should have relied on it. I heard of Psycho looking over it.
And that's all over, right? Yeah, no, you hear about it all the time.
Yeah.
And
Kentico.
Oh, Kentico. I think last year is when it
I've been looking for Umbraco jobs here, and it's in my...
Yeah, it's no England, I'll tell you that much.
It's not, is it?
No, it's Umbraco's still growing out. You gotta dig around.
Is there a lot of Umbraco in
It's huge. Apparently,
They know that.
UK's
more
largest
than-
market for
It's because the government there
Oh, that's
said, yeah, you can
Almost-
only use
Yeah,
.NET.
almost every city council has a Umbraco site because it's free and open net source and it meets their guidelines for security. And
Yeah, but...
which company I work for is
Like,
in Britain.
yeah, it's very difficult to find Umbraco jobs over here.
We do a lot of sites with Westminster.
They're having Umbraco jobs. I'm here and
Which they never pronounce. It'll be spelled Leicestershire and they're like Leicester.
Does it integrate well with the camera network?
What are the features that you guys love the most that you wish designers took more advantage of?
Of Umbraco.
Yeah.
Logging into the CMS. Actually, what you were saying
No,
earlier.
that is actually,
That's yeah.
So the last company I worked for, without naming names, there was a designer who steadfastly didn't bother to learn the technology, and then there was Erica who did bother learning the CMS. And a lot of people will say, do designers have to code? And that's a boring and pointless question. Can designers communicate with developers and understand the environment?
Yeah.
Right? So can you use the CMS? Do you know what it's going in? If you can explain to one person, or if they can quickly intuit why this would be a bad decision for the site, that's the person who knows how to log in and use the back end and figure it out. And so, yeah, just being able to do that is actually a huge thing from a designer. If you don't know it as well as the editors who are later going to come on and use it, you're probably not going to design an experience for them.
Yeah.
At Off-Road Code, the company I work for, one thing we're constantly being hammered at by our boss is not just the front end and not just the user experience, but because ultimately it's the clients who pay you, what is it like when they go in and use it?
Yeah.
And so we'll design our back office experience. How does the template look like in the CMS? What is the text like? How usable is it? And designers should think about that when they're creating elements for the different pages as well.
Yeah.
But I think that's also helpful when a designer understands how these doc types are made, because it's a user experience in itself in the back office, right? For the content editors and developers. There are some developers out there that are fantastic about creating awesome, great back office experiences, and there's some that are disasters, and those are the ones that the clients end up unhappy, and they think it's because of Umbraco, not with the implementation, and they're looking to jump ship, right? So if you as a designer understand kind of how things are put together, and you can have that dialogue with your developers and be like, maybe let's do it this way instead, to help architect that experience for the content editors. I mean, that's also a value added to. Yeah.
And that can be an interesting cost and same thing too, because sometimes the developer has to go the extra mile to make it easier on the editor.
Right.
But if the designer can explain to you why, you as the developer are like, okay, I get it. I'll put in twice as much effort to go the same distance because that makes sense.
Do you ever design the back office?
Not too much anymore. I did when I first started. I was way more hands-on on the development when I first started, and I kind of specialized more on the front stuff.
Because you can customize the back office so much. Yeah,
You really can. And there's a great, we put it out in a Scripter newsletter. There's a great tutorial about how to customize. I'd have to take that.
You can use Angular, and you can just make it a whole experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Kevin, are you still on? He must. Or Liz. Yep. Yeah. No, I would love to give a tour to the creative team of the back office for the Quorum site, so they could see what a grid looks like.
We're going to be doing that for the next meetup too.
That's awesome.
So we'll, when we're like getting all that together, we can maybe practice on the creative team.
One of those kind of design pushing, maybe we weren't pushing you, Kevin, but we had hotspots on screenshots that needed to be positioned wherever the client wanted them to go. And and Kevin in the back end, in the back office, designed a way for the client to do it through percentage on the image, and they can get it exact. And to me, that was a really great example of, okay, here's the design problem. Like, we're not going to do image mapping. We're not going to build custom HTML and put that in there. This is part of the content management system. And I just think it was a really brilliant solve from the design. Cornelia, who's also on the phone, designed this really great mouse over, but then they can add 1, they can add 5, they can put it wherever they want.
Yeah, the custom property editors that you can make for the back office, I mean, it's crazy what you can do. I've seen some and been part of some crazy ones. I mean, like some of the package competitions from Umbraco and our yearly Code Garden event. You know, I mean, you get the funny little joke packages, but you'll have people that put something in the back office experience that you wouldn't have thought could be done.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really simple stuff too.
It's not like
exponentially makes the experience better.
As an example, we did where it was checked to see if a media item was referenced on a page.
Yeah.
So when you deleted it, it would say, hang on a minute, this is used somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you want to delete it?
Yeah. I need to use that on a site.
Nice to meet all you guys.
So I have a really important question. Is it pronounced Umbraco?
Oh, no.
Depends on what country you're from.
Or not even country, part of the country. If it was
I've heard called Umbraco,
very important part of the UK.
The Danes tend to say Umbraco.
Yeah.
Because it's based off an actual Danish word that means, it's Allen key, you know? But they changed it.
Or an Allen wrench.
Yeah. They like to say Allen key. We make fun of their accent, but, you know.
They make fun of ours, so it's fine.
Right. No, they do. Whereas, and you're right, and some in England will say Umbraco. I think it's more of a South England thing.
I don't know. I mean, I've had people say Umbraco and Umbraco.
Oh, I've heard Umbraco.
Yeah.
I said Umbraco for like the first 6 months until we finally heard someone say it out loud. And then I was like, Umbraco, right. Umbraco is the most common in the US.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's sadly no style guide on how to say that.
That'd be helpful, wouldn't it?
I just wait to hear what all the cool kids in the class are saying. I'm like, yes, Umbraco. Yes, I like that too.
What he said.
Yeah.
Any other pressing questions? She has some good ones. Where'd she go?
She had to leave. She lives over on Bainbridge Island, so she takes a ferry. And that's what I'm going to assume that's
Those interested to get home.
Got it.
You're great.
That's great.
I will show you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
The last question that I got, and I actually can't answer this, so maybe somebody else can, were if there are any case studies that unfold existing websites and explain how they were built. And I only know of fluff pieces. I don't know that anyone details into exactly how things were built because
Maybe that's something that we could
security risks, or I mean, I don't know how deep people want things to go, but
I feel like Umbraco HQ should have some, but I don't know.
And then they might. The only ones.
Probably can get access to them.
That's true. The only ones that I know of are on Umbraco's blog, Umbraco HQ's blog, and they're more fluff pieces. They don't really.
What are you talking about?
Case studies for how sites are built. Although I do want to say, if you maybe look in the archive videos from previous Code Gardens, there have been case studies presented at Code Gardens. I don't really go to the sessions, so I can't pinpoint. Anyway, but I do remember one year there was one about the UK government site. What's it called? Local.gov? 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 I don't know. But there was a guy who did a case study on that, and I don't know how involved. I go through the networking.
Yeah.
Is that what the kids are calling drinking these days?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I got a fun session. But yeah, I don't know of any, but it would be if anybody comes across any, I'd be interested in that as well.
Can we email you?
Huh?
Questions?
Can we? Yeah. Go for
Okay,
it.
it's fine, isn't it?
I know, I was avoiding this slide because, I don't know, just more pictures of me.
Kind of like a happening.
Hey.
It's you taking in a session.
Yeah. I'm networking. There you go. Actually, I was drinking my first Guinness in Ireland a couple of years ago. Anyway, yeah, feel free to email me if you have any questions, or if you know stuff that I don't know. I'm like I said, I don't actually know many designers, so I feel like I could network better on that
Is
side.
there a community that we can go to?
For designers,
Yeah, for Umbraco.
Oh,
let's start one.
We should.
Honestly, yeah.
I'm
Because
down.
no, because I feel like I'm like one of
She's
these
one of the
few
only like.
designers that I've been to Co-Garden how many years? 5 years? 6 years? And I'm like, they're the only designers that religiously goes, which is why I know more developers. And actually, for me, career-wise, that's worked out really well because I went freelance 2 years ago, so it
Yeah.
helps my network. But
Yeah, I think if I needed a designer that was Umbraco, you're the only one.
I know, because okay, so wait, I don't want a designer, Umbraco. I just want to be it.
I am the Umbraco designer.
Just kidding.
My friend's great, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
Thank you. Drinking beer. My notes say, always happy to chat over beer.
Close tab.
Yeah, I'm always wanting to learn more. I'm always happy to share knowledge as well. What knowledge I have. This is my random slide that didn't make it into the cut.
outtake slide.
It's an outtake slide. Go. Don't do this. Just don't do it. Don't do it.
Okay.
Something I'm sure with her site, which looks like that.
Well, there's two different sections.
I think
We
you should have.
had a bunch of sites that we were designing for a while, back at the last place in the UK, and it was called the RTF, the Related Content Footer.
Yeah.
And every site had it. We called all of our Umbraco sites had RTF composition, which would get added to every single page, and maybe only the home page would have it, but they were so enamored by the idea of a footer that could change on a per section basis that it was called
No.
don't do it, but did it.
And I don't so much, okay, so the two side by side and the two stacks, those are from two different sections of comps that I was doing front end for. I don't necessarily mind that it goes from stack to side by side. It's the carrot in front of one and not in front of the other. It's like, just don't,
Wait, is it?
oh, see?
But
And
you're
this
also missing the ID
Oh,
that
no.
maybe that randomly appears from time to time too, It's a little Adobe PDF.
Right.
Too much white space.
Just be consistent. If you're going to use carrots, use carrots. If you're not going to use carrots, then you're related to links, don't use carrots. See, but this is also why I do front end and I go in and do the QA.
Well, you know what?
because
While I was on the plane today, I was giving design advice to someone developing a FedEx leaflet because it had a small business, and I was like, you know what? Should put a bit more spacing and align those
Yeah.
images.
Good,
So I was like,
good. Did a
agency
cutie.
experience.
Spain.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I only got that nowadays.
Were you flying from the UK?
No, I live in Florida. So I'm still on East Coast time. But, it was, Delta have introduced this free tier of Wi-Fi now, which is just some Wi-Fi based messaging apps. It's kind of cool because we were flying out last month, didn't have it. And this month I can message.
It really does change the flight.
Game changer. So I was like,
Friends of mine, I can't
I want to go back
so I need something to do. You can only watch Deadpool so many times on a flight. Or
I
whatever
watched
the movie is.
House today.
House? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
House. It's a cool Will Ferrell film.
Don't
You
sorry.
enjoy it half an hour way through it. All of a sudden he does something really awkward and
Very awkward. So yeah, I know it.
Will.
It's the awkward comedy where it's just like,
Will. What do you do that? Yeah. Anyway, going back to something related.
where did the hand stop though?
Yeah. Called the Butcher. Anyway. I've seen firsthand how the grid on script made things awesome because a while ago I had an article to be it was wonderful. And then I saw it when it was like just a text column, and all of a sudden I was refreshing it, I was like seeing, like, you added a feature to me, and I was like, scripting made my articles even better. I mean, you made it look
Sometimes we're in a rush, so we just throw it up in one column, but like,
yeah,
sometimes I try to go back and like,
We'll put in that.
yeah, but I was like, wow,
pull out quotes and
mind
stuff.
blown.
Yeah.
Great. You know, it's really cool. Just
You wanna write again? Anybody wanna write an article for script?
I was like, it sounds terrible, but writing like, was it 1,500 words? Like, all the words for a developer.
We'll take 900.
It is, it really is. That's, you know, but you can include excerpts of code in that.
You know what I told?
We're just filling space, guys. Quality counts, not working.
I'm getting a low battery message, so, we're done.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Erica.
You should record stuff while that way you can be great to see.
Can I turn the recording off?
Yeah, but you also think about it.
Top left, top right.
No.
Top right is
No.
expand.
I got a different.
It looks different. There it is, that button.
I tried it.
See how many people we have watching the live Facebook feed?
Oh, I don't. I'm not sure you know Facebook. I was supposed to make you sign something.
It's really cool you do the remote thing.